and this is what happens when it's raining. So this is my man cave, I guess you'd call it. Not much more to say about that. This is the Project Immersion screen here. The window, the projector, a few steering rims, CSW version 2 down there. It's one of my slippers, I don't know if that's coming out, but just down here is the CSS SQ 1.5, and underneath down there are the CSPV2 pedals. There's a 40-inch 4K Philips monitor, which is pretty cool actually. It's not a fish tank. Yeah, so, and this is the Gecko GS 105 chair. It's a swivel chair with a upper torso moving G-force related panel. I've got a bit of padding added to that with a form of a, it's actually a wheelchair anti-compression cushion thing, what have you. So this is what I do when it's raining, particularly, and when I've got nothing else to do. So I thought I'd show you today how I set it up and what it takes to change my ordinary PC into my little sim rig. Well, it's not a conventional sim rig, it's not like one of these nice rigs and what have you. As you can see, there's not much room in here, so I'm kind of limited by space. So without further ado, I guess I'll show you what I do. So first things first, I need to get the dust cover off this. It gets really dusty in here, I don't know what it is. I think it's because everything's black or grey. I painted the room grey so that it's projector friendly. Essentially non-reflective. Light doesn't bounce very well in here. It does off the glass doors, but I needed to know where to get out really. So before I screw this on, what I'll show you here is that I don't know whether you can see this, but there's two holes in my desk here. There's another hole here and another hole here, and I'll show you what they're for in a bit. I use these, which are just a piece of threaded bar with a T-nut on top. That's a kind of a thumb screw with a large button washer, and these I'm going to use to screw through the desk like so into this base of the CSW version 2. It's all CS stuff anyway, so it's PWS whatever. So on the holes, screw that through. And these need to be nice and tight so that the base doesn't move, and being the shape they are, as you can see, the whole desk moves, but only a little bit if I really give it a good shake. So next thing to do really is I guess unplug the mouse. It's a wireless mouse, which is really handy. Already used a wireless mouse before. I set this up. Under here also you'll see butt kicker. There's the power amp for the butt kicker, and also here you'll see a little cable. This actually comes from the back of the CSW. This is for the gear shifter, but just in case I'm driving a car on the other side of the pond, i.e. this side of the pond, I've got another little cable somewhere on this side. So all I've done, there we go, all I've done basically, so there's one there and there's one there. So all I've done essentially is used a splitter, a telecom splitter, and made myself up a couple of extension cables. The cable from the CSW goes into the splitter. That's all hidden behind here under the desk and everything, and one comes either side, which means that I can actually put the shifter on either side, and I'll show you that in a bit. But before I do that, before I clog up the desk with anything else, that's all secure now. So without further ado, I'll change screens. So you can see a little track IR on here. It's really handy for things like Elite and Armour, which I partake in. There's a air conditioning by way of a small fan. That helps to circulate the air and stop the projector heat coming forward so much. I wouldn't say it stops it, but it helps. So I'm just going to lift this screen. It's only made out of hardboard and some lightweight birchwood. So that slots over. You'll see the slot doesn't quite fit the CSW, but it was made for a Thrustmaster wheel initially, the hole. But I haven't changed it because it makes no difference to me. It really doesn't. If I ever have to replace the screen surface for whatever reason. Now all I'm doing here, actually, all that noise you can hear, I've got some more of these. And they're going through those other holes. They're going into the bottom of the screen. There's some captive nuts on the back side of this screen. Made a little screw hole error on this one when I remade it, version 4. So I have to pull it out slightly just to get it aligned. And I'm just screwing that one in this side. It's all a bit of a faff and a kerfuffle, but to be honest, it takes less than 5 minutes to set up, I believe, when I'm not talking people through it. And I'm generally on the rig for a couple of hours at least, so that's a small price to pay. So, taking a little retaining screw out, which I find is stops all the rattles on the wheels. Next thing, I guess, is to select a wheel and swap some screens over and what have you. I'll leave the curtains open for a minute because it's better than artificial light. Excuse the mess on the windowsill, I'm a messy bugger. What I'll do is I'll just pull the projector out ready. I've got some little marks on here, and that should be about it. And I'll switch it on while we're here. So that's I think that's on. Yep, that's on. And I'll grab a wheel, I guess. And today's culprit, victim, whatever, is the Porsche 918 RSR. Nice bit of kit. Once it was actually all sorted, I had problems with the quick release. There's an O-ring that sits at the bottom that wasn't fitted by Fanatic. Only one of a few minor teething problems over 4 months of getting things sorted, but we won't go into that now. So, wheel on, push it home, and let's make it secure. We don't want it rattling and falling around, do we? I mean, it won't fall out, and it won't fall off without this, don't get me wrong. It's just to stop any rattles and stuff like that. There we go. A bit tight, might as well fire that up while we're here. As you can see, there's no screen, and it's a bit bright, so we'll sort that in a minute. Right, so I've just reached down and grabbed the Club Sport. What I've done on this is I've just created some hoops out of some 25mm pipe clamps, 25mm conduit clamps actually. I made some little acrylic brackets to screw into the side of the wheel. Everything's really solid on there. I've left a little gap obviously so that I can switch it between H shifter and sequential, but nowhere to mount it to here because it's a desk. So what I've done, I don't know if you can see this, but what I've done here, These are racing socks on the end of this. I've just put some poles coming out onto the desk, again on some of these little conduit clamps that look like that, really. This stops the chair rotating. There's one on either side. It's a bit high, so because it's an office type chair, the Gecko, you can shift it around and get it. So that stops it rotating, which is handy when I'm braking hard because it's not spinning off. Just no rotation, real. But so I've just put another set of these hoops. So as I say, when I'm not explaining it to somebody, it's quite quick. So we push that through there like so. It's got a couple of hooks on. That hook's over there like so. And into the bracket. And that gives me pretty good, pretty solid enough. I'll lose that little thing, and then just plug it in. There we go. It's adjustable backwards and forwards. It's quite solid to move around. So wheels on. Still haven't got the screen. I suppose that's next. So let myself out. As you see, it's still daylight, just about. So I'm just going to close the curtains. But I don't know, it's still a bit bright. So what I did, I got myself a blackout blind, which takes out most of the light. There we go. It's all a bit dark now. So I guess we'll swap the screen over. So luckily, I've got a little Logitech keyboard here with some macro keys, and I've sorted one of them out so that it swaps my screens over when I ask it to. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And today, it's not going to. No, it's not going to. So Windows P, and pop it down, and there we go. So, but first thing you notice is that, well, it's all at a funny angle. Certainly the first thing I noticed. Also, it might not be quite aligned, but so I'm using a piece of software called Immersion Display Pro. I've got this resolution set to there you go, 1920 by 822, and it's at DSR4 on NVIDIA graphics and GTX 980. And what this allows me to do is click that button there, and then it warps the screen to a predefined shape, which is kind of a curve, but when it's projected onto a flat surface it's a curve, a bigger curve at the bottom, smaller curve at the top. When it's projected onto a curved surface like this, it looks pretty square. So what it does to me, this GoPro thing, you might be distorting it slightly, but take it from me, when I go around like that, it looks pretty square. And I think if I press configure, I might be able to show you that. So that's the ordinary distortion here of trying to project a flat image on a curved surface, and these lines here, what I use to calibrate the screen to get it square all the way around, so that when I look all the way around, it's level and everything's vertical. So your vertical bit doesn't change. That's the good thing. So I can should be able to close that. Press escape. There we go, and back to the warping. I don't know if you can see here, but it's not uber clear at DSR 4 times. And that's because it's 4 times the resolution down sampled, or dynamic super resolution down to this 1920 by 822, which I've set using the CRU utility, so custom resolution utility. I don't know if you've come across that, but look it up. It's by I think it's Toasty, is it? So I'll just see if I can find it. It's here somewhere. CRU. Yeah, that's USB drive. Oh, it's here somewhere, and I just can't see it for looking. Anyway, yeah, CRU utility it's called, and I should really give him the right credit, because it's definitely saved me. I'll look it up and I'll put it added into the notes. But so that's my screen warped. The wheel is on. I could do with having something to control the display. So let's fire fan LEDs up and see what happens with that. That looks like it's already on, so let's try that again. Ah, there we go. So fan LEDs is on. Got the shifter on. One thing I do like to do before I start anything is just check that all the pedals are working okay and such like. So yeah, we've got throttle, clutch and brake all the way to the end. Fantastic, that'll do. So I can close that. So as you may have noticed, I've got a little Samsung Galaxy Note here, and just clipped in. The only reason it's plugged in, it is going over wireless, the only reason it's plugged in is to keep it charged. That way I don't have to worry about the battery if it dies or whatever halfway through. So what I need to do is turn that on. I'm out of sleep. Start up the relevant dash. That one looks pretty good. It's using Dash Meter Pro at the moment. I do use SLI sometimes when I'm racing open wheelers, particularly SLI Max Manager from EK Sim Racing, but Dash Meter Pro I'm just going to use today. What else do I need to do? So we've already got steam running, that's good. I'm going to hit the G for the G seat. So this is Gecko Systems G seat manager here, and I've got a profile already selected for Assetto Corsa, set to normal. It's an out of the box profile. You can create as many of these as you like, and there's just stacks of profiles in there. It's really versatile. So I'll just start that off. So that's basically enabled the seat. I also got a butt kicker, as I showed you the amp earlier. So that just gives me some vibration on the base of the seat, because obviously the G seat only moves the upper part of the torso, so this really just connects it and gives that immersive feeling. So we're going to be doing Assetto Corsa, I think. Sounds like a good idea. Everything else is set up for Assetto Corsa at the moment, so we'll do that. So that's it, the profile's off for Assetto Corsa, and it's awaiting. It says the game's running. It's not actually. I've got it set up to launch on Steam and watch the Steam.exe. It already looks for the right port and the right information when you do that, so there's no need to actually tie it and bind this. I'm using version 3 of Sim Commander for SimVibe, purely because version 4 has some graphical glitches with the warping software. They haven't sorted it out in either respect. So whilst it's got that going on, I'll use version 3. It's good enough, and unless I change my wheel, of course, go down the AccuForce route. But at the moment it's Fanatic. So what else have I got to launch? I think that's everything. We've got no, we want the command for Dash Meter Pro. So that, I believe, is that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's not making a connection, so I just need to put my phone in flight mode, because it's the quickest way that I know of, and just disable flight mode of getting the Wi-Fi to relaunch. There we go, Wi-Fi is relaunched. Launch that. Dash Meter communication okay, so that's Dash Meter Pro. So I've got 4 things running basically, just to give me this warp screen, the dash, the sim vibe and the seat. What a faff, but as I say, when I'm on my own, it's click, 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 and it's all done. I could actually just launch everything from one command if I wanted to, just by writing a macro or by adding other launch properties into, for instance, Sim Commander. But I just haven't, because it's just 4 clicks for me, or 4 or 5 clicks, and that's fine. So let's fire up Assetto Corsa. Hopefully I haven't forgotten too much. What I will need to do though is get strapped into the seat, because it pretty much initiates straight away. Okay, that's a strap at the bottom, strap at the top. It goes over your shoulders. You can't really see it, but look it up, it's good. I'm going to just turn the butt kicker amp on and see if we can get a green light on it. Can't see a green light. Green light, there we go. And I'll just drive whatever I was driving last, wherever I was driving it. So that was the rough CTR Yellowbird around Norskliff. I believe it's tourist. So that's good. So let's just fire that up. So just pull this other stabilising bar on, all on. Okay, so don't know what's going on there. No, okay, something was walking past the camera by the looks of it. And there she is. What a beaut! What a beaut! And let's dive into the cockpit. There we go. I'm in. And well. It's sounds nice, doesn't it? Yep, the gear stick's definitely working. Dash meter's working. I don't need my onboard settings. What I also like it to do is use the force feedback clipping meter. A little app you can get for Assetto Corsa. Fantastic little tool. I forget the guy's name now, but I'll put that credit in there as well, in the notes. Art, is it? Art, I'm not even going to attempt it. It's we'll go there. So I'm just going to do as best as I can, really. Now you notice I've actually got like a delta and a lap and what have you. That's not necessary really, but one thing I have noticed is the HDR profile usually is a little bit intense, so I'll just turn that down a bit. And, one thing I didn't really talk about was field of view, and it's a subject that's close to my heart, and the reason I've ended up with a setup like this is purely down to chasing the most immersive experience I can get. And it all started with reading a post by a guy called Zeus Pantera about correct field of view and what difference it can make. And at the time I had a 19-inch 5x4 screen, and it made sense, but what I didn't have was any peripheral vision whatsoever. When I upgraded to a 24-inch 1610 screen, it's a 1920 by 1200 I think it was, then it still didn't make much sense, but having the right field of view, but it was something that I wanted to stick with, so I did over time. and that just didn't cut it after a while. So I upgraded to 3 Dell 1610 screens or 16:9 screens. I can't remember which one they were. 16:9 or 6. I think they were 16:10s. So I had 3 of those as triple monitors, and that made more sense, having the right field of view. And when I got a triple stand and pulled them as close as I possibly could to the wheel, that made even more sense. Forgive my driving, it's a bit appalling. But I'm hoping to go around the Nürburgring or Northcliffe this year. I was hoping to go around last year, but it never happened. It's a good job I put that H shifter on, isn't it? If I ended up in a flappy paddles car, that would have been a waste of time. So triple screens kind of really did my head in because of the SLI piece. It's a quirky beast, this. And after a year or so of fighting with different sorts of SLI, upgrading the cards because I didn't have the ones with the right amount of memory for triple screens. They had like 1.5 gig of VRAM. Slight mischief there, should have been 4th. So they had 1.5, I think there were 580s at the time with 1.5 gig of VRAM. I'm making a right fudge of this trying to talk and do it at the same time. Yeah, so I had 2 580s with 1.5 gig of VRAM. I swapped them out for 2 580s with 3 gig of VRAM, I think it was. And then a couple of 680s after that in SLI, and we're getting too hot, so I went down the water cooling route. Then I really got cheesed off with all the heat and everything, so I put the water cooling downstairs. I put some holes in the floor and put the pipes through into the garage. I did the cooling in the garage. While I was there, I added the CPU into the loop. Very efficient, but some of the titles didn't work right with SLI. Some of them hadn't implemented the profiles, and some had. But it was a faff, and the bezels did my head in with the triple screens. So I thought, sod this, I'm going back to a single screen. So I bought a 780 Ti when they came out. And a 32-inch monitor. I think it was a BenQ. It might have been a Samsung. No, I think it was a BenQ. Thinking that would give me enough peripheral view at 2560 by 1440. But hell, it didn't. Which is when I started looking around for alternatives with super field of view and projectors. Came across a guy called Hitman, and he got lots of YouTube videos of various different oversized and super field of view setups, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And then there was another guy called IDLH on the AC forums. he'd created this massive curved screen. So I reached out to him and said, how, what, why, when, and started working out how I was going to get this immersion from a single projector rather than 3 projectors, which was what lots of people have been talking about for better resolution and all this sort of stuff. And I thought the only way to do it really is to mathematically, I'm quite into maths, mathematically calculate what size screen I'd need to cover my peripheral vision. And I worked out that a distance of 26.5 inches the best size screen was actually 84 inches diagonal at 21.9. Ratio. There's reasons for that. Your eyes are kind of round, and you know that, but they are actually separated by a certain amount, and that amount for me is 71.5 millimeters. Oh dear, making right foot of this. So 71.5 millimeters. So that's just under 3 inches. So I figured, okay, so I've got eyes, and I've got eyes on both sides of my head, and not top and bottom. So obviously you need to see wider than you do up and down. And it actually works out that your peripheral vision is around 21:9 in ratio. So I started drawing bits on the shelves that are behind this screen, working out that you should really pay attention when on the tourist track, because that can happen if you don't. So no, working out basically, just do that in a second. That's a pretty unrespectable time of 8:26, bridge to gantry as well. So working out that actually the area, and it was 84 inches diagonal, as I say. So I figured if I'm 26.5 inches away from it, actually the radius around me should be 26.5 inches. So that means that every part of the screen is equally distant from the middle of my nose, if you like, the top of my nose, near my eyes, from there, so from my eyes to the screen at any point when I turn my head without moving side to side is also 26.5 inches. And that's how the dimensions came about. And then I figured that what I wanted was about a 1:1 field of view, which if I just come over here and grab my onboard settings, this isn't it. So because I tend to add a little bit more, I get a bit closer, or a bit further away should I say. Where I should actually be at 1:1 field of view is about there, but everything feels a little bit big. So I just back the seat up a little bit so that it feels a little bit better. It's not quite 1:1, it's very close, but I feel more immersed like that than I do with the other mirror cut off. So so it's not quite the right field of view because I move my seat. The field of view is right, but I move my seat back a little bit so that it looks a little bit better for me. And it does feel like I'm in a car basically when I'm being thrown around by the seat and everything. So let me just get back to the pits. There we go. So that's it really. That's how we got there. How we got to Project Immersion, how we got to the curved screen, and as you can see, if you go to my website and have a look at the field of view calculator, you'll work out that an 84-inch screen, 21:9 ratio, 26.5 inches from my face is about 64 field of view, and that's what that is there. I've slightly upped the pitch a bit because I sit quite low, because if I sit higher, that's what happens. So I sit lower, so it doesn't. It's quite simple. So the seat can push me backwards and forwards, and my head doesn't get that much in the way of the projected view, which would spoil the immersion completely if I was like that, for instance. So, but yeah, it's not the best resolution in the world. A 4K projector would be brilliant. It would probably cost me a divorce, but it would be great. So that's it really. I'm going to take it round again, I think. So my point is, a calculated field of view is fine and absolutely what you want to be close to if you're the right distance away from the screen, your screen's big enough, or you've got 3 screens or what have you. On a small screen, when you imagine it, right? A small screen this big, 24 inches, you know, you're not going to see a lot, are you, really? And that was my problem. So a lot of these people that are saying, oh, I've got the right field of view, well, do what feels right for you, but watch you don't get the bug, because it gets out damn expensive. Field of view is important if it's important to you. For me, it's for the immersion. I'm not the fastest guy in the world, and that's for sure. And most people are faster than me. I wouldn't say I was the slowest either, but I don't find I'm losing any sense of speed having the right field of view, because the peripheral vision's here. In a small screen, you don't have the peripheral vision. You don't have the peripheral vision, it's easy for you to say, then you'll lose your sense of speed. Doesn't mean you're an arcade racer. Doesn't mean you should throw your wheel away and get a joypad. What it means is you haven't got the setup to use a mathematically correct field of view. It's as simple as that. But my enjoyment comes from the immersion, not being mathematically correct. And being able to have this over the triple screens, it trumps it completely. I guess there is one other thing, although I was just going to drive the lap and see how good I could do, but I'm not going to. I'm going to carry on wittering away, because one thing that I haven't mentioned is Oculus Rift. All these people saying Oculus is the answer. Well, last year I invested in a DK2, and I mentioned earlier that my distance between my pupils is 71.5 millimeters. Well, guess what? That's not the distance to the centre of the lenses for a DK2. That's around 65 millimeters. So it didn't suit me that well at all, because you couldn't adjust it to get my interpupillary distance, my IPD correct, or rather the DK2's IPD correct. So things didn't look very good. So I got some lens adjusters which separated them to 69.5, and that made it pretty damn good. But then there was the screen door effect, and on the DK2 it was quite obvious, way more obvious than the screen door effect I've got in front of me here, which I just don't notice after 10-15 seconds. And also, screen door effect aside, all these people saying you've got the peripheral vision, well, only if you turn your head, because actually if you look at the field of view, it's not what it's cracked up to be really. It's square, so you know, I'm just going to pull over a second. So it's square actually. Well, it's round, it's round hole. Okay, so where you've got a monitor which is wider than it is taller, then yeah, great, you know, you do get your peripheral. And as I say, your actual natural peripheral vision is around 21:9. You know, what you actually perceive, plus there's blurry bits on either side of that, I mean really blurry bits. But actually outside of your ordinary 60 degrees on each eye, which is about what you've got, top and bottom, left and right, outside of that's quite blurry. Now, if you suddenly start putting square or a roundish portal, which is, you know, the Oculus Rift is basically two squarish pieces. It's a 16:9 screen cut in two. So you've got these two pieces, but actually you have to converge them into one. So you've only got really 9:9 or 1:1, up and down, left and right, or close. Maybe it's 1.1 to 1, 1.1 across to 1 down, whatever it is. So I'm wittering again. So you've got this. What you've got around that is black. So where I've got here, where this super view gives me proper peripheral vision, as in it's not in focus to me, it is if I look at it, just like with the Oculus Rift, it is if I look at it. But actually, when I'm looking straight ahead, I've got these two circles, or squarish circles of vision. I haven't got that peripheral vision like I have here. I've got 170 degrees of peripheral vision on this screen. It's not a full semicircle, it's about 170 degrees. With triple monitors, you have, depending on how close you can get to them, you have around 160 degrees. Sometimes, depending on the size of the monitors as well, you might even have 180 degrees. If you've got 55-inch monitors, for instance, you might have 180 degrees. Well, that's great, because that gives you the peripheral vision on the sides. And that's where proper field of view comes in, because if it's all out of proportion, it'll make you sick. You know, you'll get all sorts of motion sickness, and a lot of people get that with the DK2, with the Oculus Rift. I say a lot of people, some people get it. Now, I started shifting the field of view to see if I could get it better on the DK2, and I actually got motion sickness from doing that, because it all went out of proportion. Things weren't where I expected them to be, and because I was moving my head round, and it was actually like being in the car, but you're moving your head round. Things were moving at the wrong speeds in proportion to each other. You know, because the field of view was incorrect. You know, everything wasn't moving as it should. Bits at the back were moving a lot quicker or slower, or whichever one it was, and it was just not good, not a good experience. Well, to be honest, compared to super field of view, and I'm not saying just because I've got this it's better. I've tried DK2. I was hoping to move away from this projected image, this 1920 by 822 resolution, 1mm high pixels. Admittedly, DSR helps a lot with that, getting away from that, but I was hoping to move away from that. And you know, but Oculus Rift just gives me this black space around what you can see in front of you on both eyes, and it's a bit like looking through a keyhole. You know, everything's still in proportion, because you're not looking at, if you got the field of view right, you're not looking, you know, at the wrong size, but you are looking through a bit of a keyhole. It's a big keyhole, granted, but oh dear, oh dear, look what I've done to me roof. I've got no bumpers left. Anyway, for me, I will try probably the CV1 or the CV2 because I'd love to get away from it. But the other thing that got me about the Oculus Rift was I didn't know where my wine was or my cup of tea. So, and I paid a lot of money for this wheel, you know, I'd like to see it. Yeah, I know you do things by touch, but I still want to see it. I want to see my shifter. I want to see people come in the room if they come in the room, you know. Yeah, I know it spoils the immersion and you shouldn't do that, but if you have to take your screen off every time you want a sip of your drink or what have you, maybe in between races, and then have to get it comfy again, then that's not really useful for me. I spent years with headphones and a track IR trying to, you know, increase my field of view, or my peripheral vision, should I say, because I was using the right field of view, the correct field of view. So track IR was kind of a bit of an answer because I could see the sides if I then moved my head. But I've got away from headphones now. Nice 5.1 system, which I've had for years, but it's actually being used now. I've also got it set up so that my rear speakers are properly tuned. So if it's a rear engine, it comes out the rear more than it does the front. So one thing you may have noticed, going off the DK2 piece now, but one thing you may have noticed is that I'm rubbish at driving. No, the one thing that you may have noticed, and yes, I'm not brilliant when I'm talking, I'll be honest. So, or drunk, or both. But I'm not drunk at the moment, which is great. I haven't even had a single drink yet, because it's still light. It'd be wrong, wouldn't it? Anyway, one thing you may have noticed is that compared to the wheel, the cockpit doesn't move, the car cockpit. That's because I've turned that movement down to 0, so world movement is up to 100. Which means that the world is moving, and it's moving in sync with my chair, and it all feels very right. When I had the cockpit moving around in sync with my chair and the world staying still, it looked wrong. We'll try not to make the same mistake twice. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll put some videos up soon of actual driving experiences rather than me wittering. I hope it's been useful, and we'll catch you next time.